Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us, and what we hope it gives you. We are on episode 52.
52.
And we're dealing with a very rainy day, and
Very gray.
it's very gray today, yeah, but I don't know. I don't really mind that today. It's drizzly. It's not like pouring rain, so I don't know. It feels really like refreshing. Spring has starting to come.
And it's the perfect day to stay in and do crochet.
Crocheting or knitting or
Yeah.
whatever you do. We have some things to show off. I know my mom does, and I know she has a new tool she's excited to show off.
Yes.
And so we'll just head into that right now because I don't really feel like we have too much to really talk about this week
So far.
so far.
We'll figure something out.
Well, yeah.
We always do. Well, I am done with the granny stripe blanket, and I wanted to show you what it looks like before I hand it off to Sveta. And some of my other blankets that I have piled up in my room, I'm going to take for her husband and her daughter, just to let them pick out one too. Because I don't think it's just right that I just give her one when they might want one too. And I do have extras, so it's nice to do that. And so here we go. The pink is, it starts it and it ends it, and it's every 7th color. But that's the only thing that is consistent all the way through. Some of the colors I've doubled up, all the way through, but the pink is the only color that is
Without a doubt, always
yeah.
repeating.
Yeah, always repeating. I didn't want to make it a blanket that had a pattern per se of color. I just wanted it to be random throughout except for the pink. So, and I think the colors are turning out very well with it, and it turned out very nice. So, and it's as tall as I am. When it was all said and done, I couldn't believe it because I didn't think that it was going to be, but it really did turn out to be just as tall as I am. So, that's just as much as the scrappy blankets that I do, and this is with the granny clusters. I just didn't think I was going to get that height very fast, but it did. It turned out. Only one yarn at a time with this. With only one yarn at a time, it seems to take longer, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just used to having 2 and 3 and multiple yarns and having things go faster with the blankets that I normally do.
Oh, quick and thick.
Yes. And this one just seemed to take longer than that, although not really too long. It was only less than 2 weeks to get it done. So, but it was just the fact that I felt that it took longer.
Right, which
But
is valid.
and I didn't have a hook that was fitting my hand, and that
sucks.
made it
Yeah.
that made it longer for me. Now that's been rectified, and I don't have to worry about that part anymore. But I'll show you that hook in a little while. The second one I started was back to my old scrappy Lapghan, and this one's in greens and blues with white going all the way through. And I'm only partway done on this, but it's turning out so nice. And the person that I have in mind for this is pregnant right now, and so because she's pregnant and because she loves the color green, I figured blue wasn't that far away from that, and I'm trying to incorporate only what I have in the house. So greens, blues, whites, some variegateds. I used the rest of the sunset camo and the rest of the regular camo that I had applied to the granny cluster blanket, granny stripe blanket. But, and I used the rest of that up in this scrappy blanket. So, yeah, I'm just using what I have, doing what I can, with the tools that I have. So, that brings me to that point. I got my new Furl's hook, and she is a beauty. I love it. So, in the first one that I ever got, it was a 10mm pink Furl's Odyssey hook, and that was this one. And you can see how big the hook and the hook and the base of this is, and then the handle size is just a nice grip. It is heavier, but that works with me. It actually tends to work better with me. Now I have a 5mm Iris, that's the color name, Odyssey, Furl's Odyssey hook, and there's the hook size on that one. And when you put them up together, you can see the difference. I got a 5mm here and a 10mm here, and just the color differences. So pretty. I don't know if you can see the shimmer on this.
Here, I got it.
But it sure does sparkle. The pink has sparkle too, but you can't see it as much. It's more of an opaque.
You can kind of see the shimmer in it. It's they paint it with car paint so it doesn't chip.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why there's some sparkle.
Yeah, and it's just so nice to have two tools. I might not ever order another one, or I might. But right now, these are the ones that I would normally use most often because I make blankets. If I'm using one yarn and making granny clusters or whatever, I'm going to be using my Iris. And if I have to use more than one yarn, I'm going to be using my pink.
Hey, what type of... remember when we went through the different sorts of cutouts?
I think that it's more like a boy. I think it's a cross between a boy and a Susan Bates.
Okay, because you can see that it almost kind of has a... I mean, a crochet hook has a hook. Not going to argue with that. But sometimes the way that the cutout is, and the way how blunt or how more seam line a hook is...
You might see it better on this one.
Yeah, it can be different by company. So, oh my goodness, this is just, at one point it wants to focus, at another point it doesn't. I'm very sorry, but it really doesn't want to focus. There it is. There it is. So you can see how, like, it's a bar that it has been cut. The hook portion's been cut out of it, not like there was a bar with a hook on it.
Right.
It's like that difference in building, and yeah, I guess it would be close to more of like a boy. Because I know that there are other hooks, like I said, where like it is much more dramatic of a hook compared to the bar itself.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
So that's my new tools. I'm so excited about them. It makes me happy to have a tool that works with my hand. Using those small hooks just nowadays. Now, in my younger days, I did not mind, and I actually love boy hooks because they're one metal hook. Nothing else to it. But it's just too small for me nowadays. So, yeah, it's just one metal hook. Boy hooks are, and I do like the thicker ones like this, but I prefer having the grip that I can just get in there and do what I need to do, and my hand prefers it, and it doesn't hurt as much.
Right.
So, you know, you got to think about those things as you get older, as your body starts to get used to things, or it fights you on using things that you used to be able to use.
These are much more catered to people that hold it like how we hold it, which is like
The
this.
knife hold.
The knife hold. And then you have the pencil hold that actually they do it like this.
Right. And so, I'm not sure that this would work with that.
Right. So there's that aspect of these cater more to the knife hold.
Yes.
And these by nature with the pinch in it.
Yes.
With the pinch in the seam, see, the flat ridge would work more for people that do it by this method.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, once you grow in understanding how you prefer to crochet or knit based on the way that you hold and perform left, right-handed versions, they have ways of being able to accommodate. If you look at the professional crafting world, they have tools that you can invest in that can make your crafting experience much more pleasurable.
Yes. And I'm very, very happy with the hooks that I have. I can't express enough how much the Furl's Odyssey just feels in my hand, how it works with the yarn. It's just a wonderful hook to use.
And, you know, she learned this just by simply watching YouTubers that do the same things that we do, that in their channels they tend to review.
Yes.
And they review crafting tools to be able to kind of be like, okay, let's talk a review that would be much more of an interest to the crafting community, or this sort of a niche thing of like crocheters, knitters, stitchers, whatever it is. And she happened to get on one that was specifically crochet hooks. And it's very interesting because, like I said, you think that that's not a big deal, but to some people, only working with wooden tools, or only working with plastic tools, or only working with metal tools or aluminum tools are like a staple, just based off of how it feels, the fibers that they're working with, the climate that they're working in. Because I can't imagine that, like, there's very specific climates that, like, having a metal hook wouldn't work.
I would think that the wooden hooks, if you were in a very high humidity climate, would be a very, you know, because it
could swell.
It contracts and swells.
But like, even with metal tools, they could get brittle, they could break, they could melt, and wooden tools might be much more appeasing. I'm just saying, it's just like one of those things where it's like you don't think about it, and also just knowing that certain fibers of yarn and recipes of yarn only respond to certain things that I understand better. Like they slide off of, or they just... It's like their fibers don't get as cut up.
Right.
I don't know if that's true.
I use a lot of acrylic yarn, and it seems to work well with these Furl's Odyssey hooks. I'm not sure that it would work so well with cotton. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Or any other kind of fiber that, you know, might have a pull on the hook as much. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. I can't really say for sure, but for me, the acrylic yarn with the Furl's Odyssey hook works.
Yeah, I'm not trying to act like I know more than I do here. I'm just saying, from what I understand, there's a reason why people go from aluminum to wood to this to that, and I have to imagine it's because the materials or where you live either accommodates for just in your geographical location what is the cheapest for you, what's the most economical, or what is the most readily available, or what is the most likely to suit the materials that you have.
Exactly.
So I just know that there's a lot to take into account if you end up taking this craft on in a little bit more serious manner. And there's always something you can learn about your craft.
Yes.
And that's like, you will never not stop learning about your craft.
Right, and that's a good thing to remember too. I am constantly learning. I am on YouTube. I watch other crocheters on YouTube. I've been watching a lot of Ophelia Talks, and I do have a blanket that I want to try because she makes a lot of blankets, a lot of different types of blankets, and she introduces a lot of different things, and I really think that I want to try what a blanket that she has already
Tutorialed.
Yeah, there's 3 parts to it. It's a zigzag granny cluster. It's
so a chevron.
Yeah,
a chevron.
But
granny
she
cluster.
also closes in the top and the bottoms, so it's not, going up and down. And then she has a border. And I'm thinking, I have my new hook now, and I did just do a granny cluster with, just the 1 yarns, and even though for me I thought it took longer, it really didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, and I think I want to try it. So, and I've always liked the zigzag look. I had tried it one time, didn't really. I got
for it. Right?
I got the concept of it, but I didn't realize how short things were going to become.
It would shrink
because of the humps and the design. So I need to work out how many I need across, and work with her design, and maybe it'll work out this time, and maybe I'll find a new favorite. So now that I've got my new hook and I've got a new design after this scrappy is done, I think I'm going to try that. So I've already got the yarn for it too, the pretty yarn.
Yeah, that we picked out the other day. Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Maybe next week we can show that yarn before I get started, or as I'm doing. Cool. Yeah. So, because we went to the store specifically for this yarn. I don't usually go to the store for yarn, but I did for this because I was looking for purple. I don't know if you go to thrift stores for your yarn or not, but you don't usually see purple. And that is a color that a lot of my friends like. And so if I want purple, I have to actually go to Joann's or Hobby Lobby or whatever to get it. So that's what we did. We went and found it, some purple, and we found some complementary colors to go with it. And we've been deciding on this for a couple of weeks now. So I'm really ready to almost get started on it, but I gotta finish this scrappy first.
Question: what is the most common color that you normally get from stores? Goodwills or thrifting?
There's a lot of whites, off-whites. There's a lot of browns, pinks, greens. I get a lot of the other colors. I don't see a lot of reds, purples. Every once in a while you'll see those colors.
Because those seem like very vibrant colors.
Yeah, and it just seems like people get those colors specifically at times. And then if you have a whole ton of yarns and you die and your husband doesn't know what to do with it and he takes it to the thrift store.
I get that. I get how the yarn gets there. I guess the question becomes, I know you've tried to dye yarn before. If you have a lot of whites, you could create your own purples and create your own.
I could try.
You don't have to. Obviously, the whites in your scrappies look really good. So it's like you don't necessarily want to lose out on the effect that the white has on the patterns that you create.
Right.
Because you always need white.
I do like the marled look of the scrappy blanket.
Yeah.
And you need those extra colors. Black seems to either...
It's like a 50-50?
Yeah, you'd really need bright colors if you were going to use black with this marled look.
Yeah, you almost need a neon color.
Yeah, you would need it. But with white, you can just about put any color with it, and it's just going to make it really, really shine. And when you go to the thrift stores, you get a lot of white in whatever packages you get, and so it's just like, yeah, I'll just put that with the rest of them, and because you use a lot of yarn with crochet, and you use a lot more yarn when you're using 2 strands at a time,
Right.
or 2 or 3 or 4 yarns at a time. It goes so much faster than just using 1 yarn at a time. So that's the appeal of it for me. But yeah.
I guess I just figured I'd ask, just being like, you know, for someone who almost exclusively gets their yarn through thrifting, what is the most common, popular that you've seen?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know there's always whites, but it was just something that I didn't even think about, like, you know,
Browns, blues.
which would make sense for how your blankets end up turning out,
Yeah.
and the way that you end up doing it. Those
Yeah.
would be the most browns, off whites, and like greens and blues are probably
Yeah.
like the most basic basis of how you do most of your ombres.
Right.
So
Right.
that makes sense.
So, yep. But purples are very rarely seen, and so you have to go to the store to see those.
So for the girl that she's making this blanket for, that's pregnant, this is her second kid that she's pregnant with, and her first kid is my godson, and he's turning 3 very soon. I think he turns 3 the 6th of April, and we're having his party on the 2nd, and this kid really likes stuffies, so that would be the equivalent of like a teddy bear, or like, you know, for things that I've made on this channel, it would be the equivalent of like just a big version of an amigurumi. And what's crazy is that I'm with him all the time, and I made him a crap load of stuff for his mom for the baby shower, when way back when he was being born. I made him so many amigurumis,
Yeah.
so many, including this long snake that he drags around the house all the time. And so it's like, I know he likes the stuff that I make.
Yes.
Well, I was trying to think, what would he like for his birthday? And he likes Spider-Man and Elmo and different things like that. But the one consistent thing that this kid has the most of, and I don't know I'm not trying to over-exaggerate, but the house is dominated by cars and vehicles. They have hundreds, and that's not an underestimation.
Oh, I don't think so either.
They have little 4-wheeler, like, that move, that he can press a button, he's riding around in the house in this like little Spider-Man 4-wheeler, and he has little trikes. Like, look, like the red wagon, those trikes. He just has all these things that he's constantly riding around with. He has all the old Tonka trucks. He has Hot Wheels. He has almost every single vehicle you can think of in stores. Dollar stores, that's what he goes towards. Just anything under the sun in that regard, he's attached to. But his mom's like, he's been having struggles with wanting to go to sleep. And that's just more of who he is as a person, just not that he is necessarily having problems. And so she's like, if you make him anything, make it a stuffy. And I would recommend something of his interest. And she was like, he's gonna enjoy the Elmo, or the because like his whole entire birthday party right now, we're creating a whole entire Sesame Street scene on like the chalk wall that they have. We're gonna be doing that, and just like, it's gonna be fun. Well, I saw this big stuffy, this big amigurumi pattern that was of a truck, a monster truck specifically. There could have been like a little beetle car or all the other cars that I could have made, and I chose this big butt monster truck. And I'm trying to take pins out of it currently.
Yeah. Do you want them all out?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna grab them out.
Okay. I was gonna try to put them in the pin
I know.
But it's fine. You can just hand them to me and I'll just pick them up later. I was trying to be methodical about this.
How about I just hold on to them and then you can just show off your truck?
Okay. So I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like. It's not finished. And because
but it's very nearly.
Yeah. So this is what the monster truck back, side, and front are supposed to look like. And this thing is obnoxious. So obnoxious. Like you have to make grills and just this thing, like even for like the underneath the car and the eyes, like this thing has actual axles on it and everything. And it's like it has a face and everything, and side rear view mirrors, and like they want you to put glares on the glass, and just it has like the braces on the back of the trunk and everything, and it's great, right? They recommended a light worsted weight yarn or like a DK yarn using a 3mm hook.
Oh.
And I said no.
Oh my gosh.
I used my normal 4-weight yarn, a 5mm hook, because like I said no. Which has nothing to do with the pattern. The pattern in and of itself, what she made, if you wanted to make it to her scale, and what she used and the material she used, was that what she had and how she made the pattern was with a lightweight yarn, 3-weight yarn. That would have needed a 3mm hook. That's what she used.
Supposedly, yes. We're talking a real boy here. This is going to last.
I just went up a size or two.
Yeah.
All the yarn was in the same weight, and you only were using one hook size. So to bump it up a scale was not going to hurt anything. It was just that you had to accommodate for the size difference mathematically.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm using like about a size to a size and a half higher yarn and hook. And this is what I have done so far. So
isn't that great?
It's supposed to have, if you can see, it's supposed to have the blinker and the headlights and the grill. They want you to have eyes on it, which makes it more expressive. Here's its truck bed, and I have the rear lights on it, and here's the body. So the decorations I have on the side are my choice. I wanted, in our area of Michigan, the way that race car driving happens is that, and I don't really know how it is anywhere else, but this is what I know. My aunt used to be with a guy who used to be race carring all the time. Like that was his hobby. So you'd get vehicles that would be junk vehicles that he would throw big engines into it, and then you'd see all the spray paint and all the bars being put onto the windows, and how there would always be numbers on the side and all these things. And like a traditional monster truck would have that sort of stuff on it. And she didn't put it on hers, but I was like, he's turning 3. So I put a 3 with a circle around it. And I didn't need it to be perfect because, again, I'm trying to go off of the assumption that this is a monster truck. It's supposed to be messy. It's not supposed to be perfect.
Right.
And I put X-Man on it at an angle. This is what I put on first. And then I decided later I was going to put a lightning bolt. So it's off kilter, but I think it only adds to the aesthetic that it's all spontaneous designs.
Yeah.
And the reason why I put X-Man on it is because his name is Xander, spelled with an X. So Xander. And his mom, just like me, and his dad, we're all nerds. And so we know, like, the Marvel X-Men. When she said that she was going to be naming him Xander with an X based off of another fandom that she liked that character from, I was like, he's gonna be our little X-Man. And so since he's been in her room, I always called him my little X-Man. That's what I call him all the time. She doesn't, but I do. I'm like, that's my little X-Man. He's my little X-Man. And so I put that on the side, thinking that they would really play up this like monster truck character that I'm creating. So far, the last things that I have not finished on it are I have to create the rear view mirrors. I need to create the bumpers. And this one on the front is supposed to have like a lean to it where it's supposed to look like a smile. And then I have to create the wheels with the axle that goes in between them. And once that's all attached, I do believe I will be officially done with this. And I started on this project, I got it, I was here Thursday, right? Last Thursday?
Yeah.
So we were supposed to have a crocheting day, and I got into a real funk because I could not for the life of me think of what I was going to make.
Right.
And I was really just like, I just wasn't feeling the Elmo, and I wasn't feeling the Spider-Man. But when I saw this, it really sparked me. Like, this is it. This is what I want to make.
She came over Sunday afternoon, and she already had a lot of this done.
So I didn't start Thursday. I started Friday. I started at nap time for us. At nap time to Sunday, I already had the body done. So I already had this with this, the trunk, the all the front, and this cage. The basis of the body was done. The detail work was not here. So the eyes, all this
the
stuff,
lights, the grills,
this. Like, oh no, the 3 was on and the X-Man was on. This stuff was slowly added on later.
But the eyes and all that stuff wasn't on.
Most of the detail work wasn't on. Like, legitimately, I only had X-Man and the 3 on. I hadn't even had the circle or the lightning bolt or even the yellow on the X-Men done.
Right.
So it genuinely was bare from there, but that was still a big portion of the work, was just getting that body
and
built and the structure of it.
The mom said she wanted him to have something to be able to lay down and go to sleep
right,
with.
So
this will be able
so
to do that.
That's the whole point. That's where I was kind of going with it, is that he has these Paw Patrol stuffies that are humongous. Like, they're literally the size of this thing, and as long as it's gonna be once the wheels are on it. Like, they're rather big.
Right.
And I think they're supposed to look like miniature dogs. They're supposed to be at the size of a miniature dog.
All right.
They're supposed to show off the puppy stage, because that's what they're all supposed to be, is puppies.
Right.
But he has a chase and he has a sky, which in the show you would understand what that meant. But he doesn't have, for the 100 cars that he has in his home, he doesn't have a car that's actually a stuffy. He doesn't. He goes to sleep with cars, but none of them are like his stuffies that he would prefer to sleep with.
Right.
So then he always ends up bringing, he has a stuffy choo-choo train from Bronner's, from Frankenmuth across, that when he hugs it, it does the Rudolph, have a holly jolly Christmas. Yeah. It's the best time of the year. With that guy that sings that, the intro, the snowman.
Yeah.
That's the song and that comes out of it, and it's like this Christmas train. And it's a stuffy that he absolutely adores, and it's around this size too, but it's not a car.
Okay. So
he has all these stuffies that he really enjoys in their things, but none of them are cars. So I really think his mom is ecstatic. His mom's just like, he's gonna drag this thing around everywhere. I'm like, well,
that's what it's for.
I mean, not that I'm trying to like outdo all the gifts here. I just wanted something that was something he was gonna actually want.
Yeah.
And for as much as he's not like this, the things that he finds from when I made him when he wasn't even born that he likes, it's like, I really think he's gonna like this. And so I just have to buckle down. I have till Sunday to get this done. So I just have to, I'm gonna focus today. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna finish up the rear view mirrors today. I'm gonna get the bumpers made and put on. That's my goal, to at least by the end of the day, those things will be on here.
Yeah.
And then I will have to. I'm coming over tomorrow.
Right.
By
working
then,
on the wheels.
We have to start on the wheels. I'm not looking forward to the wheels. That's the only thing I'm not looking forward to.
Because you got to do 4 of them.
I have to do 4, and they're huge, and they're obnoxious.
Yeah, but it's going to be great.
The patterns for making shapes like that are not my favorite.
Right.
And amigurumi, those specific shapes are not my favorite to make, and it's because I like it to be convenient. Let's be real. I just had to create a consistent column. I just had to go back and forth, 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 which meant that I just knew how I had to count my rows, but I could consistently just do the same thing over and over again and watch what I wanted to. When I had to make this portion, I literally just had to pick up stitches all the way around this thing and then work up until it told me to stop, which meant I could watch whatever I wanted and continue to go. Making this trunk and this top was so simple, and then just sewing it was the only thing I had to put attention on. And then with the hole that was made from making this and this, I literally just had to crochet a border around the gaping hole right here, and then crochet up. And it was like, and then I just had to make a square that when I did the border, I just made these little bars attached, and then once I sewed it and just stuffed it, it was very repetitive, consistent work that I didn't have to put much thought to.
Right.
Whereas with wheels, I have to be like, okay, what stitch is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, here's the increase. So it's not that it isn't hard work, but it keeps my eyes on the project, which means that it's going to be hard for me to watch what I've been watching while I've been binging while I've been making this.
Oh, wow. You can do this for your little X-Man.
I know I can. It doesn't mean I'm not going to complain, and I'm going to tell him that it made me lose out on watching some of the things I want to watch.
And just for a side note here, Olivia loved her octopus.
Oh my god. Yes. Yes. She talks about the octopus. She tells me, because she saw me.
She dragged it right on a walk that very day.
Oh, yep. Yep. It got to experience the earth for its own pleasure and sadness.
Here she put all this nice work into this nice plushie.
Velvet plushie, and it's dragged through leaves and dirt.
Hey, she's 3. She
fine.
loves it.
It's fine.
It's a great toy.
What's funny is that I didn't have to tell her what it was.
She knew.
She's just like, oh, it's an octopus. Mommy made me an octopus? That's what you were making? Because she saw me creating something. I told her it was for her, but she didn't know what it was because it's all these many pieces and she didn't gather it. And the first thing she said is, Mommy has to make Caniel an octopus now. You need to get colors to make Caniel an octopus. Why aren't you making him an octopus? Like when I told her that I was making this for Xander, she's like, and what about Caniel? Like,
yep, that's her brother.
Like, you're not even making anything for Caniel yet. And I'm like, this was kind of pressing. Birthday kind of coming up, so I guess after this, I'm going to have to make Caniel something. Yeah. I don't know what yet. She was really insistent I make him the same sort of octopus, but just in different colors. But I think I'm going to make something different. So
we are at the point where we're going to say what our scripture verse is.
And I'm going to continuously acting like you guys are not noticing that I'm chewing like a cow on these Tootsie Rolls. It's okay. It's okay.
Right. So, my pastor a couple of weeks ago had said this verse, and it was up on the screen, and it was like, I really, really like that one. I didn't know until I had to look it up on Bible Gateway what version of Bible he read from. Everything made sense to me. It wasn't the same version as I read from. So I just, I I looked it up on Bible Gateway and found it, and so I know what version he reads from now. And so, but the verse itself is, whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's found in Philippians 1:27 in the NIV. New, what is it? Is that the same one that you had?
Yeah,
New International Version?
Yeah.
So, whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I really thought that was really great. When he said that, it was like, yeah, we've got to make sure that if we're saying we're Christians, we're acting like we are. We can't sit there and say we're Christians and then be out there in the world doing what the world's doing. We got to act differently because we're set apart for the work of Christ. So I just thought that was really right to the point, how it was worded and everything. And I thought, at least now I know the version that he's reading from. They wanted us to get our Bibles out, even if it was on our phone this last Sunday. And I knew the version he was reading from, so I got my Bible Gateway on my phone, and I went to the NIV version and to the scripture that he wanted, and it was exactly what he was reading, and it was like, oh, this is so nice. I don't have to sit there and read through words that, have it interpret or not interpreted different, but read different than what he's reading.
Like having to interpret and process what his version is saying compared to
the version that you're reading from. It was much easier to...
It's not that it isn't the same, it gets the same point across, but when it's said differently, it can make you lose your focus.
Yes. Yeah. It's just easier to have the same version when you're reading at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so that was the verse that he said a couple of weeks ago, and I was so like, wow, I got to write that down. And then this last week, he had said something, and I'm only going to say this because it's on my mind right now, and it kind of goes with this. But the pastor had said a quote, and I didn't get time to write it down, but I kind of remembered it. And then when I was on Facebook that night, that same quote came up just out of the blue, and I knew God wanted me to know what it said and to keep it, because he had showed it to me twice in the same day from two different sources. And so I wrote it down, and it says, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And that's said by C.S. Lewis, and I just thought, wow, humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And that's kind of the same thing as, whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you're going to be doing something for somebody else, you can't really be thinking of yourself. You got to be thinking of others. So.
Mm-hmm. When I think about Philippians 1:27, whatever happens, conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's like, if you're going to act like what is written and what we know to be true is impactful as it is, then it should impact you enough that you live by it. Yeah. If you are not living by it, then it obviously has not affected you enough to change, to believe it, to conduct yourself in a way that would prove that narrative. Yeah. If you're a true fan of football, you're gonna it's gonna prove evident in your life. Yeah. Sorry about that. I just had my phone starting to buzz on the table. If you are a crafter, look at us. It's gonna prove fruitful in your life.
Yeah.
If you say one thing and do the other, it is not showing that you are... Okay, so when it says in a manner worthy of the gospel, I always think of it in a way of I've earned the right to be considered a crafter because of what I do. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily something that it's like I need to earn it, but it's more of like I have earned it. I do it.
You're not just saying it, you actually have the proof of it.
I'm not just saying it. It's evident in everything that I do that I am a crafter. There are, even without crafting, there are things even on me as a physical person where it's like the way that my fingers move, the way that my fingers are shaped at this point, the way that, I mean, I don't mean to say that mean, but like...
She's a very tight...
crocheter,
and her finger gets warped.
Like I deal with that, and like the tools I always tend to have on me because of my craft. It's like a guy that, because he's always hunting, he always has that Swiss Army knife on him. Yeah. Because in his mind, that's where he wants to be. That's what he has, and there's that aspect of, as a crafter, there are tools that we always have on us because we find them to be a multi-tool because of the things that we have found they have proven to be representative of like a sense of identity, or the way that they genuinely bring us joy. So we bring it with us as a sense of like, this helps me here, this will help me here. Yeah. I bring this with me because this is something that I identify with. Yeah. And I look at that in the same way as Jesus. If you view the gospel of Jesus with any sense of weight, you will be bringing it with you everywhere to some form of fashion. It's not like you have to bring a Bible with you. It doesn't mean you have to have a bumper sticker. That's not the narrative to proving yourself to be a Christian. It's in the way that you act. It's the way that you perceive the world. It's the way that you operate your life. And it doesn't necessarily need to be and I'm saying this, and I know that this is maybe a little bit of a contradictory. I think there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say, but this is not necessarily the fruit of being a true Christian. So like someone who takes hours out of their day to read the Bible or to praise and worship, yeah, that's fantastic. But the Bible also says that other forms of worship are staying to the commitment set that you have placed before God. So like, if you have made a commitment to be in a marriage with somebody, so let's say husband and wife, and then you join and you have kids, that was a form of worship. By being with your family, that's a form of worship, because you are you are continuing to fulfill that covenant that you place before God. That's a form of worship, to continuously work on making sure that you're doing it well. Right. Because that proves that you love Him enough to continue to do what He has called you to do. True. By making those commitments to Him in regards to working in a manner that's worthy of respect, respect towards Him, that you're thinking about how He would want you to spend your money. I know a lot of people that have this concept of, because they were poor, they don't want to be poor again. And because of that trauma of childhood, they're hyper-focused and they become workaholics. And then they feel like this need for money is going to be a fix for them. Instead of being like, okay, God, what do you gave me this money, so what do you want me to use it for? Right. And it's not that God's not going to have a portion set aside for you. Right. It's what does He want you to be using it for? Yeah. And it's not that you're not allowed to buy stuff for your craft or whatever, because again, He's going to want to fulfill the desires of your heart. But if you don't do what you were called to do first, that won't come around. The law of reaping and sowing. And so there's this aspect of, it will prove eventful if you do it. Your life is going to be the proof. Yeah. Just because you say it doesn't mean you are. It's proof by your works, and it's proof by your fruit. And if you conduct yourself in a manner that is going to prove that this is happening, then no one's gonna, you don't have to say that you're a Christian to be a Christian.
People will see it. If you're living the example, if you're living your life and being an example, people will see it without even you telling them that you are.
There's a consistent narrative in the Bible where Jesus, or even other places in the Bible where Jesus is like, listen, there's nothing wrong necessarily with being in a position where I have called you to be set apart, like John the Baptist. Okay? There are those people that have to do those extreme versions of making themselves a representation of what God has called them to be able to reach people.
For sure.
There are people that are called to that.
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing it to get praise. And this is what I'm trying to say. You have the people, and I am not trying to be like the whole, I'm judging on like the Bible Belt of like the United States, where like you're gonna go into every single workshop and you're gonna have those hats that are gonna have all the Jesus stuff and all the Christian stuff. That's not saying that there's anything wrong with it. What I'm saying is that if that's what makes you feel proves that you are a Christian,
right,
then your acts proving that you're a Christian.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with wanting those things. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it.
Right.
I'm just saying that those are not the proofs of being a Christian. You have the Pharisees that would go out of their way to show off that they were praying, showing off that they were such good stewards with what they wore, with what they did, because they wanted it to be so overly represented on them to prove their status, to prove their worth, to prove all these things. And if your worth and your manner is going to be proved by how you treat God.
Others. And others.
Yes. Your manner and its worth are proven by how you treat God and how he tells you to treat others. Jesus would say, if you're going to have a fast, don't go to the street and tear your clothes and make a scene.
Yeah.
Fast,
do it
private.
quietly.
Wash yourself. Put on your clothes and move. Do it in secret. Do it in the closet, sort of thing. And so there's this aspect of like, there's nothing wrong with us sharing with each other like what we're doing here. This isn't me trying to say that I'm a better Christian than anybody. That's not even the point. The point is our manner of thinking will come out. Yeah. It's kind of like last week where we were talking about, the desire, like what you put into your heart, into your soul, is going to manifest in a way of words, in a way of actions, in a way of something. Right. You're never going to be able to hide who you are.
No.
And so if you're going to think that you can hide or try to prove something without being able to be in a full harvest or a full this or a full that, it's like... You can't prove yourself to be something just because you say it. Yeah. It's going to come across with everything that you do.
Exactly.
And so
that's exactly it. Right there.
Just because you say that you're a farmer and you have all the tools to be a farmer doesn't mean you're a farmer if you're not going out and plowing the field.
Right.
And most of those people
having fruit at the end of it.
Right. Like those people are out doing it. They're not screaming from the crop field that they're farmers when anyone that would look at them is like, that's a farmer.
Right.
Because he's doing it.
Yeah.
He's farming.
Right.
Like, and there's that whole aspect of what does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to follow Christ? What does it mean to represent the Gospels of Christ? It changes based off of where you are in the world, from western to eastern, from north to south, and that's a conviction that God's going to tell you. But I just encourage you that it's nothing that you have to necessarily... There's nothing wrong with having church wear. There's nothing wrong with having a tour wear from your favorite Christian band. There's nothing wrong with getting a hat. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, if there's anything about this verse, anybody can put on a hat.
Right.
Anybody can put on those sort of things or put on bumper stickers.
Right.
Anyone could do that, including the world. It's your fruits. It's how you conduct yourself with people.
Right.
That will show off God.
Right. Yes. Whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:27 in the NIV.
So yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I made sense. I hate sometimes when I feel like I have to constantly present it in several ways because I feel like I'm not conducive enough or like concise enough. But we're very much running out of time. We were not supposed to go this long today, and considering how in the beginning of the video I thought that we weren't going to have anything to talk about, now I've proved you wrong. But we love you guys, and we hope that you have a blessed rest of your week. Yes. I likely will have photos for the for this particular project when it's done, so that we can show them off.
Yeah,
and I can show them off on us to you guys next week. I will give my mom the link to this pattern so that if you would like to have you can search it out yourself.
Yeah.
But as always, we love you guys, and we hope that you're gonna have a good time crocheting, knitting, whatever you do, that you get through with all your projects, that you're not having to rip anything out, that everything goes well for you this week. And as always, we love you. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, we hope that you sit your way
to mental health.